Now, my R1, I consider it to be a true keeper. It's a bike you buy brand new. You ride for, well, a long time anyway. You keep it, you love it, you modify it, you make it your own. It's a keeper. Now, not all my friends have keepers. Some of my friends buy a bike every, well, sometime more than once a year. They trade them in, they sell them, they want a different one, they're not happy with this one. And I wonder, sometimes you just buy the wrong bike to begin with, or you're unrealistic about what your expectation is for a bike, or you'll find out a bike costs a lot more to maintain than you originally thought, or whatever. But it's really nice when you buy a bike, you fall in love with it, and you know it's going to be a keeper. So over the years, I have a very humble collection of motorcycles that I've bought, and I've tried to carefully think out beforehand what I was buying, if I was going to be happy with it, because I wanted keepers. I didn't want to buy a bike and a year later look around, oh, let me upgrade, oh, let me do this, let me do that, let me get a bigger bike, smaller bike, something that's more comfortable or faster or whatever. I wanted to think it through right in the beginning. Now, I have a little bit of an advantage in being 79 years old and having bought and sold a lot of bikes, and I mean a lot of bikes that didn't work out at all. But I really have the collection, the humble collection I have, has evolved, and I always suggest to people before you spend a lot of money restoring or working on a bike or whatever, buy a bike and ride it for a year and decide if this is going to be a keeper. Because if it's not a keeper, trade it in, get rid of it. Or if the maintenance is too high or it does something that you're not happy with, it's not comfortable enough, not fast enough, or something that you're really not going to be happy with, you want to move on as soon as possible. But once you find that bike that you really like, and in the case of the R1, I loved it right from the beginning. The only real issue I had with it over the years was getting the ergonomics right, and I did that pretty quickly. Now, back in '09, my son-in-law Rob wanted to get a bike. He, of course, already knew how to ride. He had gone to dirt bike school, ridden dirt bikes. I let him ride most of the bikes in my collection to get a feel for what he really was going to like. And the issue was he was a little short on cash at the time. And we went down a motorcycle mall, and he said, geez, you know, the only bike I can afford is the 250. And I thought, what a great idea it would be. I became his partner on the bike, and I put up some of the money. And I said, you ride the bike, and if you get sick of it, you know, you'll sell it to me. And if you decide you keep it a couple of years from now, I'll be like the mafia loaning you the money. Well, it turned out when he got the 650 instead of the 250, the 650 became a keeper for him and for me because he picked out the bike that he really wanted. Had he bought the 250, he probably would have upgraded a year later, maybe sooner, lost a lot of money. By getting a keeper, it was just a good investment. Now, some of the things I did over the years that were pretty counterproductive is my first H1 that I bought, all I wanted to do was go to the drags and try to get it in the 12s. I was overwhelmed by that. I used to go to the drags and it was overwhelming. I had a one-purpose bike, never realizing this bike was not going to be a keeper for me at the time, because I also wanted the bike to handle a lot better than that original white H1 did. It wasn't comfortable enough. Nowadays, I'm able to make things like seats and cowls and carbon fiber parts and exhausts. So if a bike isn't exactly what I want, I'm able to really get the handlebars I want on, the mirrors, the exhaust that I want, and I'm able to do that. But years ago, I wasn't that able to do it, and I was very disappointed. Now, when I first got the R1, and that was back in '09, I fell in love with the engine. I just could not be happier the way that engine delivered the power. It was way more powerful than I thought it would be. But I didn't like the appearance. I wasn't crazy about the stickers. I wasn't crazy about the headlights. I didn't like the flat black wheels. I didn't like a lot of the things, but I knew they were within the scope of things I could change over the years. And since I was so in love with the handling and the engine, I was willing to do a lot of modification on a bike. Polishing the exhaust was a big thing. Changing the badging. Painting the wheels, an astronomical big job. Getting the handlebars that would suit my needs and the mirrors. And making all the seat cowls. I knew it was in the scope of things I was able to do. Another thing made my decision a lot easier than it might have been for a younger person. I knew when I bought the R1, I was not going to use it as a track bike. It was going to be my personal bike, whatever you want to call it. It was not going to be exposed to being on the track and the possible damage and abuse and everything. I already had 2 track bikes. I already had done many years of track bike riding with Luciano, and I was pretty near the end of my career. But I really wanted to have a street bike. I had a picture in my mind. I wanted a custom look, but not radical. I wanted custom wheels, but not, I didn't want pink wheels or anything. I wanted to make custom parts again, like the seat cowl. I wanted to do custom badging. I had a lot of different things, the custom muffler covers, carbon fiber. And what was just perfect for me, I was able to do them all. So when I finally got around to getting a delivery on my R1, and it was just quite an adventure I've spoken about before on the video, I decided right then and there, and when I fell in love with that engine, this was going to be a keeper, and I was not going to do anything to risk it. No track days. I wanted to keep it in pristine, over-maintained condition. It's now 16 years since I bought it, and it looks like that whole plan of action has worked perfectly for me. Now, every time I get back from a ride, I get back to the farm, I think about the bike I was riding that day, and I think how lucky I am that I was able to figure out ahead of time that this was the bike for me. Because I could have bought, and I had other choices in mind, and as I look back, none of them would have worked for me. And over my lifetime, I've had several bikes that I had very high hopes were going to suit my needs, and they were really disappointing, and it wasn't long before I was looking at to get rid of them. Too long of a list to mention, but what was lucky for me is in the end, and again being 79, in the end, my garage is full of bikes that suit my needs, that will not be sold. I can spend time modifying them and doing things to them and over-maintaining them because I know I'm going to keep them. And if you know you're going to keep a bike, it's a very different, I guess, feeling when you're riding it. You know that this is a keeper. And the R1 from day one has not disappointed me. It's exceeded my expectations, and right from the beginning I knew it was truly going to be a keeper. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.